Hello, hello, and happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for joining another Sunday episode. I have had a long week, and I'm sure other people can relate to that on so many different levels. But if you are watching this podcast, you can probably see that I am not at home. I'm not in my office this week. I'm actually visiting my parents at home in Texas. So I am here for the weekend. And it has just been a joy to be home for a little bit and see my family. So let's jump right into this week's episode. So, for this episode, I want to talk a couple minutes about doing it anyway. Because a lot of the time, there are things that we are called to do in our life, or there are things that we want to do in our lives. There are ways that we want to make ourselves better, and we just simply don't want to do it. I have fallen victim to that so many times in my life. Like, oh my goodness, I am going to go work out every single day this week, and I'm going to be really on top of it. And then I don't feel like it. And if for some reason I don't feel like it and don't go, I am going to totally regret that choice. And that always sucks. And I always feel like I should have done it differently. So instead of continuing the cycle of that, sometimes we have to make ourselves do it anyways. And this can be completely biblical. We can look at this in our lives from a very biblical perspective. But God calls us to be obedient to Him even when we don't feel like it. And that is something that I have struggled with and have come to the conclusion of over the past few years as I've grown so much in my faith is that even when we don't want to do it, God calls us to be obedient in so many things in our lives. Part of me being obedient in this very moment, in this moment in time, is just me doing this podcast because, to be honest, I have had a long weekend, a lot of family things, traveling, just various things going on in my life, and I didn't want to record this episode, but of course, I feel called to do so, and I am so happy to be doing it. But sometimes we just don't feel like it. And that's okay. That's part of our lives as humans. And it's part of our trials and temptations and all these things. So I just want to jump in, read y'all a couple verses, and then just encourage you to just be obedient in even the things that you don't want to do this week because God calls you to it. So I'm sure everyone knows this verse, but Colossians 3:23 and 24, it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. So, in times we don't want to do things, that's one thing that we just have to remember. It's the Lord that we are serving. We are not serving other people in this world. We aren't serving other people. We don't have to make other people happy all the time, but we do have to be obedient to the Lord and His calling for our life. And that's hard sometimes. It is hard. We are humans. Our feelings as humans fluctuate, but God, He never fluctuates. God is the same God then, now, and forever. And when we are working, we should always be motivated. Again, like Colossians says, working for the Lord, not for humans. And that's kind of how I motivate myself. And I'm sure it's how a lot of you motivate yourselves. But it's something that we always have to remind ourselves of that we are working for the Lord. And that's how we're going to motivate ourselves. I have to remind myself of that in softball, through school, through this master's program I'm doing, in my family life, when I'm cooking, when I'm working out, when I'm doing these things that I feel like I am completely called to do, I have to remind myself I'm working for the Lord and I'm bettering my life. I'm serving Him through all of these things I'm doing, even the most minor things I'm doing in my life. It is serving Him. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. This verse can remind us to push through even when we're tired of pushing, but It will lead to so many things in our life that are so worthwhile, that are such gifts from the Lord. It is just spiritual fruit that we will be gaining if we stay obedient to God. So let some key takeaways from this just be, who am I doing this for? If you're asking yourself that in your life and you remember that you're doing it for God, I pray that it can just be a motivation for both you and me. We're humans, we're going to struggle through this together. I also just encourage you to build habits that are going to help you stay on top of things even when that motivation may fade away, because we all go through seasons of our lives where we are super motivated and then sometimes we're super unmotivated. So in those times, we can just pray for that strength and pray for that obedience. Not just the desire to do it, but the obedience to God. For a call to action this week, I encourage everyone to pick at least one thing, just one thing this week that they have been putting off, that they have completely not wanted to do, that you have been avoiding. This week, do it as an act of worship. If God has been calling you to do it, this is the week to do it. Jumping back to last week real quick, our verse of the week was Lamentations 3:25 and 26. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. So I pray that that just encouraged you last week and helped you remember that it's not on our watch, it's on God's watch, because his timing is so perfect and his way is the way. And this week, I really hope that this episode can help you realize that you can do it anyway because God can be your motivation. Even in our lowest points, God is our motivation. We are serving God. And when we are doing things for the Lord, it will bring us further than we could have ever imagined. This week's verse of the week is, of course, Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as for working for the Lord, not for human masters. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I love you all. I pray that you have a really, really blessed week and a very happy Sunday.